This is Billy Carson, YouTube's biggest conspiracy theorist, and he's also kind of an idiot.
But right above that, you see those shadows of those pyramid structures?
Right above that.
Yeah, you see those pyramids? You can see this dark shadow.
I see two lines.
Okay.
I see the arrow that's pointing to that one straight line, and then I see what looks like two superimposed arrows.
Okay, do you see?
Yeah, those things.
Okay, yeah.
Those are superimposed, right?
No, those are shadows.
Now, Billy Carson landed himself in some hot water because he did something that no conspiracy YouTuber should ever do, and that's have an honest debate.
You're open to debating anybody?
I'm open, yeah.
Okay, so if we set up anything with anyone else that's maybe expert in the area of topic that you're okay with a panel like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
Now, this debate went so poorly for Carson that he actually had to sue the man that he was debating for everything he's worth.
Now I gotta handle that situation.
He even went to this man's house at 2 a.m. just to serve him the papers, just to show him who's boss. And I can kind of see it from Billy's perspective. You're out here trying to throw your grift and then some random scientist just cramps your style. Facts don't care about your feelings? Well, unless it's on a Snapple bottle, I don't care about facts. Now today we have drama from the most unlikely of places, the Christian community. Now I would never have expected myself to be doing a video on drama from the Christian community, but here I am. But before we go, make sure to subscribe and all that, and let's get into it. Now, for those of you who don't know who Billy Carson is, let me enlighten you. Let me show you the forbidden knowledge. Now, Billy Carson believes that we as people actually come from aliens. And I don't mean like the hippie kind of aliens, like we're all part of an alien society. No, he actually believes that we're all descendants from aliens. And I use the word believe lightly because, as we'll see further along, he's actually full of shit.
And it's talking about the fact that according to the Anunnaki, human beings were created in a way that genetically we were supposed to become more superior than them. They didn't know this was going to happen. And Lil was angry at his brother Enki because Enki put a little extra in the sauce. Yeah, a little extra. And he said that the mysteries to unlock the secrets of the universe is hidden within our bodies, and that we ourselves can rise to be even higher than them.
Now, the basic gist of this theory is that the Anunnaki came 1 billion years ago with another group of aliens called the Angel, and the Angel were slaves to the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki sent the Angel to go dig up gold under the earth, but then the Angel rebelled. So then they both got into a big war, and the Angel got their freedom and they're free to do whatever they want. But that left the Anunnaki in a weird spot because they still need somebody to mine all this gold. So that's when they created humanity, and they made humanity using their DNA, which is why he says that we're all aliens. Now, this theory is actually a load of horseshit, and the reason we know that this is horseshit is because the guy who invented it was memeing around. Now, the name of the guy who came up with this theory is Zecharia Sitchin, and the way he came up with this theory is like the most laughable way you can think of. He went to Amazon, he got like one of those books where you translate English to Sumerian, and then he did the most terrible translation of the Sumerian text.
He taught himself. But when you teach yourself, okay, sometimes you don't always know what you're supposed to study, okay? So personally, looking at his translations and things like that, I think he kind of did a half-assed job of teaching himself because he doesn't take certain things into account that you would want to take into account when you're studying Sumerian. For example, we actually have dictionaries from ancient Mesopotamia. The ancient Mesopotamian scribes created dictionaries. Now, they have all kinds of lexical lists. That's just sometimes groupings of...
Now, the reason why a lot of people believe Billy Carson and Zecharia Sitchin is because it's really hard to prove that they're memeing around. And the only way you can really prove them wrong on this part is by learning Sumerian yourself and reading like their text. But the only problem here is that Sumerian is a dead language and only the people that study this language know what it says. So you just have to believe Billy Carson here. Even though all the experts that write those books that translate English to Sumerian say that it's a terrible translation of what the actual Sumerian text says. But as the merchant of misinformation, that's not the only thing he peddles. This goofy man also believes that the Emerald Tablets are a real thing. Now, the Emerald Tablets are these tablets that have the secrets on how to create the Philosopher's Stone, and the Philosopher's Stone is a stone that gives you immortality. Now, Billy believes that this guy, this Atlantean named Thoth, gave us this as a gift from humanity. Because Thoth wanted humanity to live forever just like him. But the only thing is, though, that these secret forces just don't want us to have it, and now it's locked away. And this is like a big thing for Billy Carson. He even wrote a book all about explaining how these emerald tablets are like the secret to humanity, even though he misspelled like every other word apparently. But surely this theory is like legit, right? There's no way he could have written a whole book on a meme. Well, he did. Because all of this leads back to a guy named Maurice Doriel, whose actual name is Claude Doggins. Now this guy claims that he went to the pyramids of Egypt and met an Atlantean there. He met 2 Atlanteans. And these Atlanteans told him everything. They told him everything about the emerald tablets and how to make a philosopher's stone. And with this knowledge, he made this new cult named the Brotherhood of the White Temple. But now you're probably asking yourself, how do we know that this guy's fake? How do we know he's actually telling the truth? Well, the reason for that is because a lot of the things he says are ripped out of H.P. Lovecraft's Necronomicon. And it also doesn't help that his wife told everybody in the cult while he was doing a sermon that he was faking it all because she found out he was cheating on her. You know, it's not like that, right? No way she would have ever spilled the beans, right? Now, so far, these conspiracies are like pretty harmless. I don't think anybody would be mad if you believed in them. They're very good conversation starters, I'll say that. But Billy Carson takes this a little bit further because he steps on the toes of Christians. Now, Billy claims that Jesus was actually an alien and that the God in the Bible is actually a bad guy and he actually took out the real God.
You think Jesus was an alien?
I think Jesus was half human, half alien, and I'll tell you why. When you look at the Apocrypha text, you discover, first of all, in the regular Bible, you discover he's born of a virgin birth, right? But then in the Apocrypha text, you discover that his grandmother was also born of a virgin birth. So it seems like this establishment of a bloodline there specifically. And so I got on my knees and I said the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, you know? But then when you trace back that Lord's Prayer, whose prayer is that? That's the prayer of Ptah. Who's Ptah? Ea Enki from the Sumerian tablets. He wrote that prayer in ancient cuneiform, which then made it all the way into the Bible. And you think you're praying to God, you're saying the prayer of Ptah.
Now, this is a pretty bold claim to make, and you would imagine that a lot of Christians would be mad when he says these type of things. But a lot of people are just pushing back. They're asking for sources. Like, where does it say in the Bible that Jesus is an alien and this God is not the real God? And Billy Carson just says, well, it's in the book. You just have to look for it. Which is obviously not a good response. But here is where our anime protagonist shows up. And this is Wes Huff. And now he has a small YouTube channel of 160,000 people. Now, with the help of presumably God, he was able to land an interview or a debate with Billy Carson. Now, this guy just recently got big in the last year because he went on shows like Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet-David, and Andrew Schultz. So I guess he was assuming that this is going to be like an easy interview. He's going to get a fluff piece and a free pass. But that wasn't the case here. Because Wes actually asked him where he got all his sources from. And Billy Carson had this response.
If you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible, okay? According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible.
So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19.
So Wes called out Billy for lying, basically. But Billy Carson was like, no, that I actually misquoted. I actually meant the Book of Barnabas. And of course, Wes, like the anime protagonist, he knew exactly what he was talking about.
I'm just curious, like the Sinai Bible, where was that piece
I found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Okay, yeah. Well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with. There are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery, and so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So, at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem.
Now, you would think that Billy Carson had a response for this, since he is an expert in Jesus, alienology, and all that. But he didn't. In fact, he even agreed with Wes, saying, oh, okay, I guess you're right.
Unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually, and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody in the field of papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the Old Testament a little bit.
And this is pretty much the vibe you get from this whole interview. It's just Billy Carson saying something and Wes just completely destroying him on it. And as you can see, this isn't a short interview. This is a 2-hour podcast, but Billy Carson only talks for like around 15 minutes. And he doesn't even stay for the full podcast because he leaves early because he knows he's being destroyed.
Yeah, there's old stuff that it's hard to comprehend, but the thing that continued to change my life was Jesus, and the core of it was love conquers all things.
I can't miss this.
So yeah. Keep going.
All right, brother.
We can do a follow up.
I really appreciate it, Billy. Thanks so much for interacting.
So yeah, I would.
Now, Wes was very courteous to Billy. He didn't call him an idiot to his face, and he was very formal. But as you could see, Billy Carson just got up and left, didn't even say goodbye. He just got up and left Wes hanging. And you can tell he was butthurt just by the way he ignored Wes. In fact, he was so butthurt that he is now suing Wes.
Billy Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work. I've released clips from that conversation. Well, Billy does not want you to see those clips and has sent me a cease and desist letter. I was really hoping that this could be an opportunity for Billy to learn, to see the major errors that he's been repeating and turn this into a learning experience. I even offered to follow up with Billy in order to show him how and where he could find accurate and credible resources in order to make sure that what he was saying was verifiably correct going forward in the future, so he and his audience could learn and proceed knowledgeably. Billy did not agree. But unfortunately for Billy, agreeing to a debate, losing that debate, and feeling embarrassed about that loss does not constitute legitimate grounds to litigate. Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter that you have sent me if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion. This is my formal response.
Now, Billy Carson did make a response to Wes, but the response was quickly deleted, and I can't really find anybody that re-uploaded, but I can find other people that have it on their video. And from what I can tell, it seems that his response is kind of implying that Wes and the host for that podcast colluded together to make Billy look like an idiot. But you can tell that he's also very heated here because he goes in this long tirade saying that anybody who believes in Christianity is a walking NPC.
You've been heavily manipulated to the point where you don't even know who the hell you are. It's really scary that there's that many NPCs walking around on this planet. Drones. You people are drones, man. No empathy. I gave you the definition of that earlier. Sadistic narcissism, lack of empathy, controlling, quick to anger, jealous, envious. I am a jealous God. Didn't he say that? Some of you will, some of you won't. Some of you will still be stuck in believing the current ideology and dogma that you've been fed. How come I can see that and understand that, but you guys can't? And you're wrapped up in the actual religion itself.
Now, a lot of people were asking, they were wondering, how did Billy Carson end up debating Wes? Doesn't Billy Carson go through like this whole process to make sure that this guy is a fake and make sure he's going to get these easy questions? Well, he does. But the thing is, though, the most extraordinary thing happened. It seems his bookkeeper just threw him under the bus. Now, this is Anton Wybisky, and he's been Billy Carson's keeper for 3 years. Now, he's the one that was able to set up this interview with Billy Carson and Wes. And you're all probably thinking, why did this guy throw his boss under the bus? Why did he do it? Well, the simple reason is that he was tired of Billy Carson just making a mockery of Christianity. And he felt he had to do the right thing by exposing Billy Carson.
I personally am a Christian. I'm proud to be a Christian. I was not always a Christian. I spent 13 years of my life deeply involved in the occult, and I'm no longer a part of any of that stuff. And now I'm a Christian. And Billy was actually one of the people that inspired me to not be a Christian. Not directly, but indirectly through a lot of his content, because he talks very confidently and makes some very bold claims about the figure of Jesus, and a lot of people believe him.
And in this video, he goes more in depth, kind of exposing Billy Carson and finding out that Billy Carson has been arrested in the past as a fraud. Now, who would have guessed that the guy who loves quoting fraudsters is also a fraud? And he goes on his long video kind of exposing who Billy Carson is and everything he's done, and how he's a liar and a manipulator, and how he actually hates Christianity, even though in the front he says that he comes from good intentions. But he also says in this video that he's also being sued by Billy Carson. And he shows this video of Billy Carson going up to his house at 2 in the morning and serving him papers, because that's what a normal rational person does. Now, Billy Carson came to his senses because he did a rational thing and he apologized. Now, he didn't apologize to Wes or Anton. No. He apologized to his community for not being better. You know, nothing about frauding them or giving them a lie. No, he apologized because he is being attacked. So he writes, "These attacks caused me a great deal of hurt, frustration, and anger, and I want to acknowledge how these feelings may have influenced my actions. In my last response video, some of the things I said, the way I expressed them, were not aligned with the true vision or purpose of Forbidden Knowledge. Forbidden Knowledge stands for inspiration, love, and empowerment, not anger, division, or disconnection." So yeah, through his last response video, it seems that he alienated a good amount of his fan base that actually are Christians. And there's probably a good amount of his fans that probably never even saw the debate, but are learning about it because Billy Carson addressed it. So now they're turning against him because he went on this huge tirade mocking all Christians. And quite frankly, it's just not looking good for Billy Carson. But that's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think, and peace.